Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally come. It is XDefiant release day, and I'm here to tell you my first impressions on the release version of XDefiant and whether or not it is worth your time. If you are new to the channel, I always try to give my honest opinion on any game that I play, and I mainly focus on FPS content. I'll really play anything new that comes out, so if you value that, definitely hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because I'm definitely going to be playing a bunch more games that come out later this year, including the next Battlefield and Call of Duty and all that stuff, whenever those games release. I also stream every single day on YouTube and Twitch at the same time, so if you want to know when I go live, follow my Twitch, and of course turn notifications on for the YouTube channel. Now, the first thing I want to mention about XDefiant is that after all of these playtests, after all of the cryptic messaging around the game's release date, we honestly never thought the game would release. That was the running joke about XDefiant. People were saying, well, I don't know, it might release in like 2027 if Mark Rubin actually wants us to play the game. But lo and behold, here we are, it is May 21st, and we finally get to put our hands on the released product. So how does it compare to the playtests and the betas, whatever you want to call them? In my opinion, the release version of XDefiant is 99% the same as the early access or beta versions of XDefiant that I have played. The netcode issues are still there, the gunplay is still missing that oomph, something special. The movement is still clunky in some places, the balance is seemingly almost the same with the operators. I don't notice anything that jumps out to me as vastly different compared to any of the betas. And I have to say, I am not surprised whatsoever. It has always shocked me that people have gotten extremely hype about this game. I never understood it. To me, I could just see right through it, and I just knew that XDefiant would release like this. I don't know why, I just knew. It's totally typical. And of course, because we are now in the era of quote-unquote modern FPS games, when this game released, there were massive server problems that plagued everyone, and basically, Shroud and all these other streamers were sitting in front of their tens of thousands of viewers, staring at the matchmaking menu. So if that is the first impression your game is going to make on people on release, let's just say it's not a very good first impression, and you'd be shocked at the amount of people that will simply not even lift a finger to try your game because of something as simple as server problems. With that being said, they did remedy a lot of the server problems fairly quickly, but that's just one of those things people are always going to mention when they talk about the start of XDefiant now. First impressions in games are more important than ever, and you're always going to hear, hey, remember when XDefiant released and I couldn't play the game for 3 hours? I do. Talking about some of the more specific things about XDefiant, I'm going to mention the movement first. The movement, I actually don't mind as much as other people. I see a lot of people complaining about clunkiness or people just say it feels like plasticky. I can see where they're getting the plasticky from. It definitely has a strange aesthetic to it. It feels stiff, but at the same time, I don't really necessarily think it's clunky aside from strafing. There's sliding and jumping and all this sort of thing that is seemingly in every single FPS game nowadays. And I would say the movement overall is definitely better than some games I've played. But one thing I will mention that I dislike is the weapon audio and the general feel of this game's gunplay. It's just not satisfying. The weapon audio makes you seem like you're using an airsoft gun, and that's not very satisfying. When I shoot an AK, I want it to seem like it's doing something and not like I'm picking up a Nerf gun. That has been a long-standing criticism I've seen multiple people talk about. The weapon audio and the gunplay in general in XDefiant doesn't live up to, let's say, its competitors such as Battlefield or Call of Duty. And in my opinion, it could be easily improved with some fairly easy changes to the weapon audio and maybe some changes to the way the gunplay is designed. But that's sort of the problem I find with XDefiant. XDefiant is meant to be designed as a game that is almost painfully on trend. It's a hero shooter. It's trying to take on Call of Duty. It essentially just takes a bunch of aspects from a bunch of other existing games, smashes them all together, and there's XDefiant. There's almost no innovation, there's nothing unique, or really anything groundbreaking in XDefiant, and there doesn't necessarily have to be for the game to be good. I do have fun playing XDefiant, but I do have to say, it's just one of the most whatever games I've ever played. And with that being said, I don't necessarily think this is the game people were hoping it was going to be. I don't think this is the game to captivate people, ladies and gentlemen, and it certainly doesn't have a single chance competing against Call of Duty in a straight-on game versus game. Call of Duty will wipe the floor with XDefiant regardless of how bad Call of Duty becomes. Even though XDefiant sort of takes it right at Call of Duty with putting input-based matchmaking in XDefiant and making sure this skill-based matchmaking is either not there or it's very, not as strict as COD's skill-based matchmaking. So even with all of that, I just don't think XDefiant is going to be able to take it to its competitors enough to make them, play XDefiant over Call of Duty, over Warzone, over these other FPS games like Apex Legends and so on and so forth. As far as I can tell, this is essentially just the beta version of XDefiant with a battle pass. That really is how I feel about this game. I was not captivated, there's really nothing to write home about in terms of content, and I think the general gameplay is sort of uninteresting. However, I do absolutely enjoy the fact that this game has input-based matchmaking and the fact that it has a lot of pretty decent game modes. I like the maps, I think they're fine. And I do think this game will harbor a niche competitive scene. Definitely not mainstream, but definitely niche. There will be discords, people will run wagers and all that sort of thing. I do think that will have a place in XDefiant. One thing I would like to point out is the hero shooter aspect of XDefiant. A lot of the things in this game are generally just extremely annoying to play against. There's invisibility, there's wall hacks, there's a character that can deploy a shield wall that you can shoot through. There's a character that can deploy a fire drone that burns you and explodes you. There's a character that deploys a spider bot that jumps on your face, locks you in an animation, and kills you. And there's a character that has an extremely strong self-sustaining healing ability like every other hero shooter pretty much ever made. Again, I think the hero design in this game is extremely generic and actually more on the annoying side. The abilities are extremely strong and very difficult to deal with in certain situations. Another thing I wanted to point out that I was noticing during my playtime is snipers in this game are just too easy to use for how effective they are. I was in close quarter gunfights with people, literally not missing a bullet, and they were one shot, and then I just get instantly killed. Snipers in this game are too easy to use. Now, I know some people are going to comment, well, wow, I can't even imagine this guy's complaining about snipers in a Call of Duty-like video game. What an idiot. This game has a longer average time to kill than Call of Duty. The longer the time to kill, the more powerful one-shot snipers become. Because the average full auto time to kill is longer, while the one-shot sniper still one-shots you. So, with that being said, they need to nerf sniping. They need to increase the aim down sight speed. They need to make it harder to one-shot people in the chest, whether it be reducing the one-shot kill hitbox on the player model, whatever they need to do. Sniping needs to be addressed, and you'd be surprised, shotguns might become annoying. I'm not sure if they're as overpowered as I think some of them might be with certain builds, but I got killed by a guy today using a shotgun build who was jumping around using the invisibility character, and it was very effective. I did die from quite a distance away, and I just hope that shotguns and snipers are not overpowered at the same time in XDefiant. So overall, my thoughts about XDefiant really haven't changed, and I don't want to say I'm disappointed about it because I didn't really have any expectations. In fact, I actually expected this exact thing to happen. So I'm sort of just amazed that they didn't manage to make the game any different with the amount of time that they took developing it. Furthermore, I think a lot of the hype surrounding XDefiant is simply fabricated from COD people that hate the current state of Call of Duty and were coping about XDefiant somehow being better than Call of Duty. They overlooked the fact that XDefiant is most likely not even going to sustain a decent player count for longer than a year. Okay, that's my brutal honest opinion about this game. I think once the next Call of Duty or the next iteration of Warzone or whatever comes out, I think people will literally just forget this game existed. I just simply don't see how this game's content is going to hold people over, because we all know nowadays in this modern sort of gaming era, your gameplay isn't enough to sustain your game unless you're some massive super competitive shooter like CSGO, and even CSGO 2 nowadays is struggling because Valve messed that up. If I had to summarize the release of XDefiant in one word, it would probably be typical. This is just a very typical experience. Seen it 1,000 times at this point with many other games that people were hyping up, and I don't think this game's any different. So, if you enjoy the channel, sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I know some of you guys are probably going to be mad at me in the comment section, but guess what? I don't care, right? I don't care. I'm going to give you my opinion straight, just as you want it, and if you don't like it, then guess what? Don't watch the videos. And with that being said, give me your honest opinions in the comment section down below, because I did get some community engagement while I was streaming this game, and I have to say, at least in my community, the sentiment was essentially the same. A lot of the people in my community were saying the game is mid, so I want to see what YouTube thinks, and I want to see the general sort of feel. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy the channel, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I stream every single day on Twitch and YouTube, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Oh, he's doing a grenade.
That's right.
He's in a crazy head glitch. My lord.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Can I revive you?